Jock McHale's coaching record is so imposing that his remarkable playing record is often overlooked. Born in Botany Bay, he moved to Victoria at the age of 5 and played football with Christian Brothers College, then Coburg Juniors, before being rejected by the Magpies after his first trial. He impressed, however, in a subsequent pre-season match and was added to the Collingwood list, making his senior debut in 1903, initially at half-back, but eventually working his way into the centre, where he developed into an integral part of the Magpie lineup.
I think it's fantastic when you speak to Lou Richards. Lou's over 80 these days and he still talks of Mr McHale. And those types of people around the club. It must have been an amazing club. I mean, if I ever had the time machine, that would be the thing that I'd go back to. Those days in the 1920s when Jock McHale and John Wren and all these greats, the Coventrys and the Colliers and all these people were ruling Victoria Park and ruling the VFL, and in that case ruling the whole of football in Australia at that stage. And it just must have been an amazing time. You see the photos of him with his hat and with the magpie hat band around the outside and the coat, and how dapper he looked and the strength of character and his piercing eyes. And you just wonder, wow, what was it that this man had that was able to last such a long time?
He was one of the most durable players of all time, stringing together 191 games in a row between 1906 and 1917, in an era where sports medicine and recovery techniques were practically non-existent.
You've got a guy there who, at the turn of the century, devoted his whole life to the Collingwood Football Club and then did so right up, literally, to the day he died after the 1953 grand final.
He played in Collingwood's 1910 premiership side and took over as captain coach in 1912, before becoming a non-playing coach in 1918, finishing his playing career on a then club record 261 games.
The years he coached, the premiership success he had, the way he defined a football club that has become something 50 years after his death still is resonating with Jock McHale.
Jock McHale, the player, was known for his ability to read the play and his opponents, his hatred of defeat and his unwavering commitment to the team. All qualities translated into his phenomenal coaching career.
Not only was he feared at times by his players, but absolutely loved, and the devotion that he had and the way he was able to really get them up and going and stir the stove, he used to say to them three-quarter time, get out there and get into them. And the fact that he wouldn't talk to them after the game if they lost, and the mad stare at the end of the race, all those types of things are just wonderful. And there's no doubt that he had a wonderfully human side to him as well, as judged by the way that he looked after not only the players but also the supporters.
A tough disciplinarian, he believed in players maintaining position and sticking to the game plan. The team came before all else, and he had no time for focusing on individuals, believing all members to be equals and insisted on receiving the same match payment as his players.
Collingwood went from being a club that was set up, in the worst part of Melbourne. He set the scene by telling the players that everyone plays for the same price, that we play for the Guernsey, that playing for Collingwood is what it's all about. Not individual honours, not anything else, but for the absolute team success. And while that has become redundant now in the year 2005, you see that, that is what set the scene for Collingwood. Maybe in the years after 1950 might have cost us some premierships when players left to get paid in a more fair way. But in that period during the Great Depression, the Collingwood players were always paid. The supporters were able to come in if they were sustenance workers for free, and it was more than just a game of football. This was something that transcended sport. Jock McHale's ideology at the Collingwood Football Club set the scene for the success that we achieve today as a Collingwood group. And there's no doubt that his spirit is what Collingwood's all about.
Jock McHale coached the Magpies for 38 straight seasons from 1912 to his retirement in 1949. And more than half a century later, he still holds the all-time records for most games coached with an incredible 714, most finals coached with 59, and the most premierships coached with 8, as he led the Pies to flags in 1917 and 19, the record-breaking 4 in a row from 1927 to 30, and then back-to-back titles in 1935 and 36.
Well, he was obviously an amazing character, James McHale, because he was a man who not only was the coach of the Collingwood Football Club and therefore ruled the area in a time when it was tough, during the Great Depression, when coaches had to separate players from punching the hell out of each other at training because they all wanted to make the extra money playing senior football. He was also the foreman at Carlton United Breweries, so he was a leader of men there as well, and just in the general community. And you have a look at the legacy legacy that he has left, not only at the brewery, but certainly at the Collingwood Football Club. But the fact that here we are in 2005 and the name Jock McHale is as famous today as Kevin Sheedy and any other coach in recent times, the Ron Barassis, it's just quite remarkable.
He guided Collingwood into 27 final series in 38 years and retired with an extraordinary winning record of 66%.
As far as coaching was concerned, you had Norm Smith, whose name adorns the best on-ground performer at the AFL Grand Final, and these days the Jock McHale Medal for the coach. It's very fitting that those two superstars have been recognised long after their deaths, that their names will never disappear from the lexicon of Australian rules football. And probably down the track we should have something for the Barassis as well. But certainly at the Collingwood Football Club, there is no greater name. We named our stadium after him in the final year so that he would have some remembrance of what he did for the area around there. His impact not only on the football club but the social fabric of the community, and as I said, it resonates to this very day where Collingwood holds itself true to the fact that it's the #1 philanthropic sporting club in Australia based on the beliefs of Jock McHale. Says it all.
He served as Collingwood's chairman of selectors from 1950 to 53 before suffering a heart attack the day after the Magpies' thrilling 1953 premiership win. Such was the impact his beloved Pies had on his life and ultimately his death.
He's bigger than football. He's actually about a social ideal, and football was his mechanism to get that across. That it was all about the team, it's all about doing things for a cause, it's all about togetherness. That's what Jock McHale's about, and that's why he's a legend.
He was an automatic selection as coach in Collingwood's Team of the Century and was an inaugural inductee into the Australian Football Hall of Fame in 1996.
There are people who transcend various areas and are just larger than the game. They are legends, and Jock McHale fits that category.
In 2005, Jock McHale Sr. becomes just the 19th man elevated to legend status in the Australian Football Hall of Fame.